Hey guys, it's your Peacekeeper coming at you with a video for the start of our How to Play series on the US Cruiser line, and this is of course going to be the Captain Skills video. I've got 4 different builds here for you that range from anti-aircraft builds to gun builds to destroyer hunting builds and survivability builds. None of these are of course set in stone, so please do not feel obligated to run these verbatim. However, these are intended to give you an idea, a direction, a foundation, if you will, of where your captain can go. Obviously, there are multiple viable alternatives to all of the skills that I'm going to recommend, and you're certainly welcome to try them out yourself and see what works best for you. I will tell you which one that I'm currently using, and we will discuss it from there. But before we dive into that build, we're going to actually talk about the anti-aircraft build first. And obviously the anti-aircraft build is focused on shooting down aircraft. This has a lot of use, whether it's in ranked battles, team battles if they ever come back, clan battles if we ever get them, or if you're just really sick of running into carriers in your everyday battle. This would be a good build for you, and, it seems to work out pretty well. You know, the national flavor of the U.S. is anti-aircraft, and of course the U.S. cruisers add defensive fire, so that's a good ship foundation to build from. This first skill that we're going to take on that anti-aircraft build is going to be preventative maintenance, which reduces the chance of modules being incapacitated by 30%. And this does not work for anti-aircraft guns. However, it does allow you to take, instead of main armaments mod 1, auxiliary armaments mod 1, which increases the hit points of your secondaries and anti-aircraft guns by 100%. Obviously, that's the reason why we take preventative maintenance, is to take that skill. The next one we're going to take is Expert Marksman. This is kind of an offensive capability. There's not really a whole lot else that's really a solid choice for an anti-aircraft build in the 2-point level. But Expert Marksman is going to make your turrets traverse faster, which is always handy. From there, we are going to go to either basic firing training, if you want the hardcore anti-aircraft build, or Superintendent, which is going to give you an extra consumable. Basic firing training is going to increase the DPS of your AA guns by 20%. And after one of those two, at the 3-point level, we're going to go to Concealment Expert, and this is going to reduce the detection range of your cruiser by 12%. From there, Advanced Firing Training to increase the anti-aircraft defense firing range by 20%. And then to manual fire control for anti-aircraft. And this leaves you with 1 point left, which allows you to either take Expert Loader or Priority Target or Incoming Fire Alert, depending on which one you feel the most applicable. Expert Loader is going to be kind of more offense-oriented. That allows you to switch the ammunition that's loaded in your guns. Now, your guns have to be loaded to use this. It allows you to switch the types, so if you had AP loaded, you could switch to HE 50% quicker. Priority Target's going to tell you how many people are actually actively targeting you, which could be useful if you're going to make a turn and need to know how many people are looking at you to see if you can actually make that turn. And then Incoming Fire Alert is going to let you know whether or not you are receiving any incoming fire from long distance. And, to each their own. With Incoming Fire Alert and Priority Target, I always assume that if I'm detected, I'm being shot at. And if I am, detected, chances are they are going to shoot at me if I go broadside. And that has just been my observation from 3,000 plus battles of playing, that these two skills really don't work out too well for me. I'd rather have Expert Loader. This next build that we are going to talk about is going to be gun-focused, and this build starts off with Expert Loader for that reduction in swapping of ammo. Then it's going to go to Expert Marksman to increase how quickly our turrets traverse. Then it goes to Superintendent, then to Concealment Expert, then to Advanced Firing Training. Now, Advanced Firing Training on this build isn't about the main caliber guns, obviously. This is about still keeping your anti-aircraft bubble very large and make you less ideal to shoot at by carriers. Then it's going to come down here to Demolition Expert, and then Adrenaline Rush. And we'll go back up here to Demolition Expert. That increases the chances of you starting a fire by 2%. Adrenaline Rush, for every 1% of your hit points lost, you get a 0.2% reduction in reload time of all of your armaments. For 50% of your health lost, that is a 10% reduction in the reload time of all types of armament. Right now, this doesn't apply to secondaries, although they are going to supposedly tweak this so that it does. If you don't want to run Adrenaline Rush, you can certainly run either High Alert or Jack of All Trades. High Alert reduces the cooldown time of your damage control party consumable. That's your instant repair of fire and flood or damage modules by 10%. Or Jack of All Trades, which reduces the reload time of all consumables by 5%. Either of those two would be viable if you didn't wish to run Adrenaline Rush. This next build that we're going to talk about is going to be a Destroyer Hunting build. And by the way, I don't run the Destroyer Hunting build. I do run that gun build, as you can see. Not quite completed. I do plan on running Adrenaline Rush. For this Destroyer Hunting build, it's going to start off very much the same as the gun-oriented one. Expert Loader, Expert Marksman. Then it's going to come and go to Superintendent, and this is for the extra radar consumable later on, or Hydro if you are running Hydro. That extra consumable is nice. And then it's going to go to Concealment Expert, then Radio Position Finder, then Vigilance, Preventative Maintenance, and then Priority Target or Incoming Fire Alert again. And that will give you the ability to for sure track the general location of the closest enemy, which if you are going to be destroyer hunting, chances are, at least at the start of a match, that's going to be the destroyers. And while the skill to those who are experienced might have limited use, it is nice in knowing for sure if an enemy destroyer, or heck, it could be a cruiser, is close to you and where that guy is. There's a couple of maps out there where it's very popular for a destroyer to go the long way around the side of a mountain, and you might miss them. They might slip through the net. Having RDF will just tell you for sure if they're there. Vigilance is going to help, you spot those torpedoes from further out, an extra 25%. And then we've already talked about the other skills. This last build that we're going to talk about is a survivability build, and I've thrown this in every single captain skill update video that I've done, and I don't really find these builds to be particularly useful. I find them to be very passive, and they don't really provide anything for the offensive capabilities of the ship, and that leaves really kind of a bad taste in my mouth, but we'll go over it nonetheless. It'll start off with preventative maintenance, and then it's going to come down here to high alert, then to Superintendent for that extra heal at the later tiers, then Concealment Expert to reduce that detection range, Advanced Firing Training to move your anti-aircraft bubble out, Vigilance to increase the detection range of torpedoes, and then finally Jack of All Trades. And like I said, that build really is very passive. There's nothing about that build that is offensive in nature except for maybe the Superintendent. You could argue that the extra radar consumable or extra hydro could be offensive, but for the most part, I really don't consider that to be a terribly viable build in the long run. It might help you if you're trying to figure out how a ship is working and you just can't seem to figure it out because you keep dying so frequently. That might not be a bad build just to try out and see if it helps you at all get used to the ship. But for the most part, I just don't find it to be that viable of a build. Anyway, what are you guys thinking about your builds for the US Cruisers? There's so many good builds out there. There's so many good options. I know somebody's going to bring up inertial fuse for HE shells, and quite honestly, I for 203 equipped guns, I don't see this as being that big of a deal, but for the 6-inch guns on like the Cleveland and Tier 6 and below, there's certainly a good argument to be made about it and the ability for it to reliably do damage to battleships. Up to you whether you take that skill. I just don't know if it's worth ditching AFT for it, although there is, like I said, a good case to be made for it. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and if you haven't already, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.